Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Japan and we're going to try another new brewery that I've never tried anything from. So very curious to see how this one pops out, because this was another beer that was recommended to me by my good friend Koji, who owns liquor store Asahiya here in Osaka, and this is a brewery that he says, you know, is one that I really needed to try. So hopefully this is an interesting one. So for this review we are going to go for the first time to Uchu Brewing, which literally translates into English as space brewing, as in space up there, and we're having a taste of their Aldebaran triple IPA, which comes in at 10% ABV. So yeah, really nice looking one this. The hops in this one are Citra and Mosaic, from what I understand, and this beer is named after a star in the Taurus constellation. It's a giant orange star, also known as Alpha Tauri, and it's about 65 light years from Earth. So yeah, it should be a really interesting one. This, most of the beers that you'll find from Uchu Brewing have this very you know, they have this kind of space theme to their name. As I say, Uchu, and when you translate that into English it literally means space, as in up there. So yeah, it should be a really interesting one this, and I always enjoy reviewing these little new Japanese breweries. So yeah, very much looking forward to this one, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Uchu Brewing. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Japanese beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Uchu Brewing. So Uchu Brewing were actually founded very recently, just back in 2017, by Masahiro Kusunoze and Rumiko Suzuki. But they both came from a background in agriculture, and they first encountered craft beer on the US West Coast, and they found that they really liked the different personalities that each different brewery had, and they really wanted to bring this back to Japan. But the first thing they did, since they were farmers, was they decided that they would plant hops, and they have their own hop fields right next to the brewery, and they often actually hand pick the hops that go into their beers. So Masahiro is the main brewer at the company, and Rumiko mainly does the kind of marketing and business side of things, but she does also take part in the brewing and some of the farming as well. But they've now built their own brewery in Hokuto, which is in Yamanashi prefecture, and a substantial amount of the money that they actually used to do this has come from crowdfunding. It was saying that they'd raised something, I think it was around 3 million yen or something like that, that they'd actually raised through crowdfunding exercise. And when you look at the pictures of the brewery, as I say, the website is in the video description below, but when you look at the pictures of the brewery there, it actually looks like a really nice, very modern operation actually. But the name, as I mentioned to you earlier, literally means space brewing, and so most of their beers are named after different things in space. You know, they've got one called Black Hole IPA, for example. They've got one called White Hole IPA, and I think mainly most of their beers tend to be IPAs and sour IPAs. They haven't, I don't think they've brewed like imperial stouts or anything like that so far. And I think the main reason for that is that they have their own hop fields next to the brewery. So this is why they are mainly brewing these different hoppy styles of beer. But yeah, really exciting times. A very new brewery, and it's cool to be able to introduce these guys to you at such a kind of early stage in their life, if you like. So yeah, very cool, and it's cool to see a kind of really IPA forward brewery popping up over here in Japan. You know, there's some really interesting breweries. I think in the last 2 years or so, Casey and Eric were telling me from Sotogami Akihabeera, if I can pronounce that correctly, they were telling me that the craft beer scene really has exploded here over the last few years. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can check out the brewery website. If you are a Japanese speaker, these guys have got a very good blog blog on YouTube that you can check out, and their website seems to be updated very regularly as well. But as I say, that's in Japanese. You can view the website with Google Translate, but the videos on their YouTube are, you know, primarily Japanese. But I would guess that these guys speak fairly good English if they've, you know, lived on the west coast of America for a little while. But yeah, let's get on to the tasting of this one itself. So as I mentioned to you earlier, this one is a 10% triple IPA. It's named Aldebaran, which is also known as Alpha Tauri. It's an orange giant in the Taurus constellation, about 65 light years from Earth. Pardon me. And the hops that they've used in this beer are Mosaic and Citra. So yeah, two very, very well known hops in this one, and as I say, it should be a very, very nice beer. So there you can see the artwork on this one is kind of quite classic. It is a little bit of like a kind of retro Japanese gamer style, I think, the artwork on this one. It is quite nicely presented, and all their beers do kind of look quite similar in terms of their artwork. It's just a plain bottle cap on this one. It tells you a little bit on the side about the beer in Japanese, but I think it just pretty much tells you the information I've told you. I'm sure Michiko was saying that, you know, it just tells you a little bit about the Aldebaran star and things like that, and a little bit about the beer and the brewery itself. So yeah, without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Very curious to see how this one turns out. Nice little bit of smoke on the opening then, and we'll get it out and into the glass. I need to be a little bit careful with this one because I noticed there was a little touch of sedimentation in it. I think the fridge, Michiko's fridge, is just a little bit cold, so you know I have to be very wary with these different beers as I'm pouring them, because there was a big bump. Yeah, I think I've got it. There was a little block of sedimentation in this one. As I was, as I was bringing it up. But yeah, as you can see, this one's poured pretty much as you would expect from one of these big IPAs. Lovely, bright kind of yellow colour on this one. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see this one is pretty hazy in terms of its appearance. It looks very, very nice. So yeah, nothing really surprising about this one. In terms of its colour, as I say, if I hold it up to the light, this one's most definitely a kind of bright yellow. There's a solid half finger or so of a very frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head on this one. You know, it looks pretty much as you know, there's nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. It looks pretty much as you would expect from an IPA, regardless of whether it's a pale ale IPA, double IPA, things like that, or even a triple IPA. But yeah, it looks very, very nice. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But as I say, overall looks exactly as you would expect, to be quite honest with you. And as I say, more of a hazy IPA, this one, rather than a kind of clear West Coast by the looks of it. I'm not sure what to expect in terms of flavour profile, but let's have a little look at the aroma and just see how we get on. Ooh, yeah, I think this is going to be really good actually. So in terms of aroma then, it's the Mosaic and the Citra hop are really just pushing their way out of this one. It's pretty much got what you would expect from them. You know, you've got a lot of nice juicy mangoes coming out from the Citra, and you've also got the tangerine oranges from the Mosaic in there as well. And if you take it in a little bit more deeply, that's when you start to get the kind of more complex fruit aromas from each of these hops. You know, you can definitely pick out, there's a little bit of kind of lychee and things like that from the Citra, but at the same time you've got a little bit of the blueberry definitely coming out from the Mosaic. The Mosaic, as I always say, gives you this nice, quite sharp, but also juicy tangerine note from it, and it also gives you a little bit of blueberry in the background, whereas the, you know, the Citra will always give you the nice mango notes and some of the lychees, and it can also give you a little bit of a lemon limey quality, and you're also getting a little bit of the lemon limey notes out of this one as well. But yeah, lovely kind of floral aromaticity to this beer too. Yeah, definitely more floral than anything else. There's a little distinctive touch of earthiness in there too, I would say. And this will be interesting because, you know, these hops are American varieties, but I would be guessing that there's a portion of the hops in this one are locally grown. Whether they're using the American hops as the, you know, the aroma hop for the beer, and they're using their own homegrown ones as the bittering hop or something like that. I would be really interested to know, and that's maybe something that this company will get into a little bit later on down the line. They'll maybe start breeding their own hops. I know that some of the brewers, I think Shiga Kogen beer, have their own hop variety which is called Shinsu Waze, and there was always the Soriachi Ace from Japan as well. So I'm very, very curious to see if we start to get more Japanese hop varieties at some point. That would be very, very interesting if we start to see a particularly, Japanese style IPA actually developing over the next kind of couple of years or something. That would be really, I would love to see that actually. Because already with the Japanese craft beers, you get a few of the sake brewing techniques used, and it makes them very different and very interesting from, American beers and European beers and stuff like this. But yeah, pretty much with this one, in terms of the malt base, you can smell, I'm pretty sure from the aroma, there's wheat malt in this one. I think there's a little bit of a biscuity sweetness to this as well, but it definitely has this big sort of bready, white bready sweetness to it. Little bit of I do wonder if there's a bit of an oaty creamy note to this, but we'll find out when we actually taste the beer. And it also has a little bit of biscuity sweetness. So I mean, to me it seems like a very kind of straight up IPA, this one, a very kind of straight up IPA in terms of its aroma, but I think it's, at 10% as a triple IPA, it is going to be a little bit of a monster, so really looking forward to this. So yeah, let's get stuck into this one. And this is one thing I should also mention as well, very excited about this beer because by trade I'm also a spectroscopist. I was an astrophysics spectroscopist. I used to look at stars and figure out, what chemicals and things they were made of. That was my job, so it's quite cool to find a brewery that has a space theme. I always enjoy reviewing these beers. So yeah, let's have a go at this one then. So this one is the Aldebaran, named after a giant orange star in the Taurus constellation, 65 light years away, by Uchu Brewing in Yamanashi Prefecture here in Japan. I think this one's going to be an awesome, awesome beer. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skull, Kampai. Ooh. Yeah. Now this is nice. One of the things you always have to watch with these triple IPAs is that, if you're going for the sort of New England style thing, which this beer does actually do, quite often you'll find that it's difficult with the New England malt base to cover the alcohol up completely. So this one does it actually really quite well. I've always found with these more slightly New Englandish IPAs that 8.5 to 9% is the sort of limit, but these guys have managed to pull off a 10% one, which is really quite nice actually. And I would always say when you get above the 8.5–9% mark, you've really got to use a little bit of caramel or something like that just to cover the warmth of the booze. But these guys have pulled it off quite nicely actually. I don't know what they've done. I'm trying to figure out if there's a little bit of sake rice or something being put in here. But yeah. Yeah, but I'll say straight away, this beer gets a big kind of it gets a big thumbs up. They've done a good job of this one, and I'm very curious to try some of their other things. I've gone straight into the monster of their range, if you like. This is the strongest beer that they do, but this is just the one that Koji had available at the time. But yeah, this beer is very, very good. I mean, this is one of the, this is up there with the best IPAs I think that you're going to find in Japan at the moment. But as I say, the craft beer scene here has exploded over the last 2 years or so from what I've been told, and I think these guys are going to be one of the names that you'll be hearing quite a lot of if you're into the craft beer scene in Japan over the next couple of years. I'd be curious to see if these guys get their beers over to Europe. I think that would be, these beers would stand up there with some of the IPAs that we're getting in Europe, to be honest with you, just on the basis of this one that I've had. And if their other beers are similar, then I think that would be really cool. I'd love to try one of their sour IPAs as well, because obviously in Sweden we have Breakeriet really close to us, and that's the sort of beer that they're doing, so I'd love to try one of their sour IPAs. Yeah, so with this one then, let's try and break it down. In the middle of your palate, you've got a really nice kind of wheaty sort of bready quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. I'm pretty sure going from the flavours of this one, particularly when you go further into the aftertaste, I think there's a little bit of an oaty quality to this beer. You can feel a little bit of that slightly oaty creaminess in the middle of your palate, but there's also a little bit of a kind of biscuit flavour in there too. You can really feel that in the kind of centre of your palate. You've also, as I say, the whole of the middle of your tongue is just blanketed with this wheaty, white bready quality there, and that's very, very nice, I would say. I like how all of these flavours in the malt base are just going together, but to me this is a very kind of straight up New England type malt base, this one. It's not one of the sweeter ones that I've come across, but then again, when it's as boozy a beer as it is, you're not going to get that same level of sweetness out of it as you might out of the lower alcohol ones, to be honest with you. And I don't think, just going by the flavour as well, I don't think they've added like sake rice or anything to this one, because as I say, some of the Japanese breweries like to use a little bit of the sake rice in their fermentation. It just gives the body of the beer a little bit more of a slight, especially the malty qualities of the beer, it just gives it that little bit more kind of oiliness to it. But one thing I will say about this, and it's, as I say, it's always interesting to pick up these little different subtleties when it comes to beer from different countries. This one, even at 10%, it does retain that kind of typical Japanese drinkability that I always talk about. To the Japanese, beer has to be drinkable. It's definitely got a little bit of that carbonation to it just to make this a nice drinkable beer. But again, at 10%, it's one that you don't really want to session. This is just a nice kind of sipping, tasting beer, to be honest with you. Yeah, this is really nice. So on the hoppy side of things then, in the back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of that earthiness in there. That comes from the mosaic. When you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that just smooths out a little bit, and that's when you start to get towards the front corners of the palate. That's where you start to get some of the nice floral aromaticity out of this beer, and then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy, I would say. It's definitely got a little bit of that kind of lighter, grassy quality to it. And then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And for me, you know, this one is showing up the citra and the mosaic characters very, very well. So the base of this one, there's a little touch of grapefruit in there, which is coming from the citra, but you've got those nice juicy mangoes that you would expect as the kind of mainstay of this beer. But yeah, some nice kind of juicy tangerine notes in this one. I like how the I do like how these I like how these kind of orangey notes are coming out of this one. It does have a little bit of sharpness to it, but also a little bit of an oily quality in there. Of course, the other hop you can use for orangey flavours, well, you've got a few actually. You've got Azaka, you've got Amarillo, which is the classic one. It's a little bit more of an oily orange. You've also got Mandarina Bavaria from Germany and Pacifica from New Zealand. But this one, you know, the tangerine notes that you get from Mosaic are very, very popular these days and very, very well known. But the further into the aftertaste you go with this one, around just slightly more towards the front corner, the front part of the palate, you've got a nice sort of lychee flavour to this one. You've also got a little bit of blueberry in there too, but I want to say there's a little touch of a limey flavour to this one, a bit of a lemon limey note too. Normally when you have lime, of course, it's you know, it can be Equinaut is the chosen hop for that, but this one has a really nice little bit of a lime subtlety to it as well. But it's just a very, very good IPA, and you know, for a triple IPA, it's definitely one of the kind of smoother and easier drinking ones that I've come across. Some of them, especially when they're done in the New England style, can be quite hard to drink at points, but you know, again, this is one that really retains that typical Japanese drinkability about it. This is a very, very solid triple IPA, and I think they've done a pretty damn good job of this one. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this, then have a go at it, and I'm assuming if they can do the triple IPA well, which is harder than the other ones, I think their other beers will probably be pretty damn good as well. So hopefully I can review one or two of those for you again at some point fairly soon. But to me, a very, very nice beer, and I'm glad that I was able to review this one for you. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then with this beer, I would say yeah, quite a full-bodied beer. As I say, carbonation has a little bit of a presence in this one. It's a little bit of a prickle. Nice oily mouthfeel, I would say, rather than anything. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness. I would guess that the IBUs in this one are somewhere around the kind of 40-ish mark. I'd say it's about 40 IBUs, this beer. Malt base has a little bit of sweetness to it, but not overly that much. But that's difficult to get out of you know, a beer that's so heavy in terms of its alcohol. But it's also got a lovely juicy fruitiness to it as well. It really shows up the Citra and the Mosaic hops quite well. And as I say, I would be curious to know with the bittering side of this, of this beer, I'd really love to know if they've got their own hop varieties and things like that as well, because there are a few things with the floral qualities that this beer has that are a little bit different from what I've encountered before. But as I said, lovely, lovely triple IPA, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again, and I'd be very curious to try some of their other beers as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this. So this one was the, how do I pronounce it again, the Aldebaran triple IPA from Uchu Brewing in Yamanashi Prefecture here in Japan. Very, very nice beer, and I'm really glad that I got to review this one for you on the channel. It's always cool to introduce you guys to new breweries that you haven't heard of before, and I enjoy it. It's really cool seeing the Japanese craft beer scene pop up a little bit, because they do have this kind of artisanal history with all the different sake breweries and stuff like that. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Make sure you check out some of these Uchu Brewing beers if you get the chance. I think these guys are, their name is going to get more and more well known over the next couple of years. But yeah, this one was really cool to review. So let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Uchu Brewing as well. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very, very soon, hopefully, with some more Uchu Brewing beers. And yeah, as I say, I think this is a brewery that's going to become fairly well known in Japan over the next couple of years. But until the next time, Slàinte just now, and I will catch you guys later. The Aldebaran triple IPA from Uchu Brewing in Yamanashi Prefecture here in Japan. Slàinte, skål, kampai.